You have probably met them, or perhaps you are one of them. The ghosts in the machine, the people who have accounts but no posts, the ones who watch but are never seen. In an age where existence is equated with visibility, they are the anomalies. We live in a time where the Cartesian "I think, therefore I am" has been aggressively replaced by "I post, therefore I exist." So when we encounter someone who refuses to participate in this digital theater, it triggers a deep, often unconscious, psychological response in us. We wonder what they are hiding. We wonder if they are judging us. Or, in our quieter moments, we wonder if they know something we don't. Today, we are not looking at the influencers, the oversharers, or the noisemakers. We are turning the camera around to face the void. We are stepping into the quiet mind of the person who doesn't post online. Imagine walking through a crowded city square. Everyone is screaming their name, holding up pictures of their breakfast, their lovers, their vacations. They are begging for you to look at them. And then in the middle of this chaos, there is someone walking calmly, hands in their pockets, looking around but saying nothing. They are not shouting. They are not holding up a sign. They are just observing. This is the digital landscape we inhabit. The first psychological layer we must peel back is the concept of the panopticon. The philosopher Michel Foucault described a prison where the inmates could be watched at any moment but could never see the watchman. The internet is an inverted panopticon. We are not just the prisoners, we are also the guards. We watch each other. We police each other's behaviors, opinions, and aesthetics. The person who posts is voluntarily stepping into the cell, performing for an invisible audience, hopping for a verdict of approval. The person who doesn't post has effectively walked out of the prison yard. They have realized that the only way to win the game of judgment is to refuse to play it. There is a profound psychological autonomy in this refusal. Consider the sheer mental energy required to maintain a digital avatar. Every time you post, you are creating a split in your psyche. There is the you that exists in reality, the one with messy hair and complex, contradictory thoughts. And then there is the digital you, the curated, flattened version that must be consistent and palatable. For the chronic poster, these two selves begin to bleed into each other. They start living their real life merely as a set designed for their digital life. They see a sunset and their first thought is not of beauty, but of capture. The non-poster preserves the integrity of the moment. They see the sunset and it ends there. The experience is consumed, metabolized, and kept private. It is a closed loop of satisfaction that requires no external validation to be real. Let's dive deeper into the fear of the permanent record. We have evolved as a species to forgive and forget. In a tribal setting, if you did something foolish, the tribe might mock you, but eventually, the memory would fade. You could reinvent yourself. The internet has destroyed the possibility of forgetting. The non-poster understands the weaponization of context. They know that a joke made in 2014 can be the executioner's axe in 2024. This isn't just paranoia. It is a high-level survival strategy. It is the realization that in a world where everyone is digging up dirt, the safest ground is the one you never walked on. By leaving no digital footprint, they retain the fluidity of identity. They can change their minds, their politics, and their personalities without a chorus of strangers pointing out their inconsistencies. They are protecting their future self from the ignorance of their past self. But there is a darker, more melancholic aspect to this silence as well. It touches on what psychologists call the fear of being misunderstood. Communication is difficult enough when we are face-to-face, with tone of voice, eye contact, and body language. Stripped of these nuance markers, text and image are breeding grounds for projection. The person who doesn't post often possesses a high degree of emotional intelligence. They simulate the outcome of sharing. They imagine the misinterpretations, the shallow compliments, the unsolicited advice, and they calculate that the cost of explanation outweighs the benefit of connection. It is a form of social perfectionism. If I cannot communicate the totality of my experience perfectly, I will not communicate it at all. This leads us to the concept of the observer effect in physics, which states that the act of observation changes the behavior of the particles being observed. This is true for humans. When you know you are being watched, you perform. You modify your behavior to fit the perceived expectations of the audience. The non-poster is attempting to live a life free from the observer effect. They want their choices to be truly their own, not influenced by the subconscious desire for a like or a share. There is a purity to this that is almost monastic. Think about the last time you did something impressive and didn't tell anyone. It feels different, doesn't it? It feels heavy, solid, real. It belongs entirely to you. The moment you broadcast it, you dilute it. You sell shares of that memory to the public, and in doing so, you lose majority ownership. We must also consider the dark forest theory of the internet. In Liu Cixin's science fiction, the dark forest theory suggests that the universe is full of life, but everyone is hiding because they know there are predators out there. The internet is becoming a dark forest. The early web was a noisy cocktail party. The modern web is a war zone of ideological battles, cancel campaigns, and algorithmic manipulation. The silent users are not inactive, they are stealthy. They are moving through the trees without snapping a twig. They consume content, they learn, they watch, but they do not emit a signal. This is not passivity, it is camouflage. It is an evolutionary adaptation to a hostile environment. Let's shift gears to the dopamine feedback loop. We know the science. Posting and receiving likes triggers the same neural pathways as gambling or cocaine. It is a variable reward schedule. You never know if a post will get 10 likes or 10,000. That uncertainty keeps you pulling the lever. The person who doesn't post has broken this addiction, or perhaps they never developed it. This suggests a different source of self-worth. If your validation comes from internal metrics, did I work hard today? Was I kind? Did I learn something? Then the external metrics of the internet seem trivial, even childish. It is like an adult watching children trade imaginary currency. They don't want to participate because the currency has no value in the economy of their real life. However, we cannot ignore the element of control. There is a specific type of narcissism that manifests as silence. The poster says, "Look at me, please love me." The silent observer says, "I am too important to compete for your attention." It is a power move. By withholding themselves, they create a vacuum of mystery. In a world of oversaturation, scarcity is the only true luxury. By making their presence scarce, they increase their perceived value. When they finally do speak or finally do post, people listen. It is the psychology of the VIP room. The velvet rope isn't there to keep people out. It's there to make the people inside feel special. The non-poster has put a velvet rope around their entire life. Let's conduct a thought experiment. Imagine if the internet disappeared tomorrow. The servers crash, the clouds evaporate, and the screens go black. Who loses the most? The influencer loses their career, their audience, and their external validation. They lose the mirror in which they see themselves. The non-poster loses nothing. Their assets were never in the bank to begin with. Their memories are stored in their neurons, not on a server farm in Arizona. Their relationships are built on phone numbers and physical addresses, not usernames. This creates a psychological resilience. They are antifragile. The digital world is a layer of glass over reality, and they are the ones standing on the concrete beneath it. There is also the phenomenon of referential anxiety. This is the anxiety that your life does not reference the cultural canon correctly, that your coffee cup isn't aesthetic enough, that your vacation isn't exotic enough. The non-poster often rejects the aestheticization of everyday life. They are comfortable with the mundane. They are okay with a messy desk, a blurry photo, a boring Tuesday. They have accepted the chaos of reality without feeling the need to curate it into a storyboard. This acceptance is a form of radical acceptance. It is the ability to sit with boredom, to sit with ugliness, to sit with silence, without reaching for the phone to filter it into something prettier. Let's talk about the dead internet theory. The idea that much of the internet is populated by bots and algorithms talking to each other. The non-poster might intuitively sense this. Why scream into a void that is mostly echo? Why pour your heart out to an algorithm that only wants to sell you mattress ads? There is a deep cynicism here, but it is a healthy cynicism. It is the realization that the platform is not the community. The platform is a farm, and the users are the cattle. The non-poster refuses to be the product. They use the tool, but they do not let the tool use them. They treat the internet like a library, a place to go to get information and then leave, rather than a home to live in. Consider the depth of relationships. The person who posts constantly often maintains hundreds of weak ties. These are shallow connections that require low maintenance but offer low reward. A like is a low-effort interaction. The non-poster often prioritizes strong ties. They may only have 5 friends, but they talk to those friends for hours. They share their photos privately, in group chats or over dinner tables. This privacy creates intimacy. When you share a photo with the whole world, you are saying this is for everyone. When you show a photo to one person, you are saying this is for you. That exclusivity builds bonds that the public internet cannot replicate. We must also touch upon the concept of time preference. The internet is the kingdom of high time preference, immediate gratification, short-term attention. The non-poster often operates on low time preference. They are playing the long game. They are building a career, a family, or a skill set that requires years of focus. Posting is a distraction. It breaks the flow state. Every time you stop to document the work, you are not doing the work. The silence is the sound of focus. It is the sound of someone building something that cannot be built in public. Now look at the shadow side. Is it possible that the silence is a form of cowardice? Is it a fear of rejection so paralyzing that it prevents any expression at all? For some, yes. The empty profile is a shield. If I never try, I can never fail. If I never state my opinion, I can never be wrong. This is the silence of the inhibited, not the enlightened. It is a prison of its own making. They want to connect, they want to be seen, but the risk feels too great. They are trapped in a state of analysis paralysis, drafting tweets they never send, taking photos they never post. This is the tragedy of potential energy that never becomes kinetic. But for the majority of the voluntarily silent, it is a reclamation of the self. In a world that demands we turn ourselves into content, the most rebellious act is to remain a person, to refuse to be a brand, to refuse to be a metric, to keep the sacred parts of your life sacred by keeping them secret. The psychologist Carl Jung spoke about the persona, the mask we wear for society. The internet has forced us to wear that mask 24/7. The non-poster takes the mask off when they get home. They might be the only ones left who remember what their own face feels like. So the next time you see that profile with no picture, 0 posts, and a generic username, don't assume they are a bot or a creep. Look closer. You might be looking at someone who has figured out the trap. You might be looking at a free man in a digital panopticon. They are the ones watching the theater of the world, eating their popcorn in the dark, enjoying the show, but smart enough never to jump on stage. They know that once the spotlight hits you, you can never really see the audience again. And they prefer to see. This silence is not empty, it is full. It is full of uncaptured moments, unperformed emotions, and uncurated memories. It is the silence of the deep ocean compared to the noise of the waves on the surface. We are all thrashing about on the waves, screaming to be heard above the roar. They are down in the deep where it is quiet, where it is dark, and where perhaps the real living is actually happening.